Okay, if you haven't noticed yet, for those of you that are frequent viewers of Pop, you should probably realize that we're kind of in a different locale today. Yeah, basically there's some construction going on outside of Pop Studios, so needless to say, we decided we wanted to shift to a new venue for today's video, and happy Friday the 13th, by the way, which I'm probably the 4 millionth person today that said that to you guys. So, we're going to be here for today's video, and actually, full disclosure, we'll be here for the verses for this week. Maybe. I don't know, we'll see how it sets up. Probably, once we figure out how it works. So, we watched 2 movies this week, so it was kind of low with the normalcy. We're doing like 5 or 6 videos, but trust me, we're going to make up for it more than enough when I get back. So, AJ, take it away.
Alright, before anything, I mentioned, I was going to say this in the Conjuring video, but I forgot, so I'll go ahead and bring it up now.
How appropriate.
This movie has an interesting connotation with James Wan's career. Apparently, this will be his last horror movie.
Yay!
So apparently, the story is that he'd always wanted to be an action director, but he made Saw, and studios basically only associated him with Saw, and he got caught up in horror.
He got typecast.
Yep.
Typecast as a director, which is something very strange.
But he is going to get off on his action ways because his next movie after this, of course, is Fast and Furious 7.
Which is going to be amazing. That cast gets better and better by the day.
He tried to originally break out of horror by doing Death Sentence. That was his whole point of doing Death Sentence, but...
Good movie.
But it just kind of... He was still
fluttered away.
He was still stuck in horror, so... he says this will absolutely be his last horror movie. Which it would have been really... Not to say this movie is dreadful, I'm just saying, wouldn't it have been awesome if his horror swan song was The Conjuring?
Yeah, no.
He probably wishes these were...
flipped.
But, well, here's the thing. I didn't think much of the first one.
I didn't like it at all.
But, because you were scared.
No,
you don't like horror movies when you're scared.
No, I just don't like paranormal horror movies. I never have.
Well, the thing is I didn't really care to see it again, but I started reading about this one, and apparently the two are very, very, well, obviously I know now for sure, the two are very, very close together.
Okay.
And they do the Halloween 2 thing. It's literally one right after the other.
Okay.
So, I went back and watched it again this morning, actually, before we left.
That's literally fresh in your mind right now.
Having said that, it actually wasn't as bad as I remembered. But, this one is a step above it. Sure.
It had my interest, which is weird, because I didn't like the first one, so actually...
The thing is it doesn't actually go right into it, because it goes back into... Obviously, we learned towards the end of the first one that, the ghost wasn't necessarily after the kid, it was after Patrick Wilson. Yes. From when he was a kid.
Correct. So
the very first scene of this movie actually goes back to 1986, where he is a child, and we first meet Elise. And his mom, who are not Lin Shaye and Barbara Hershey in 1986, obviously. Of course. And then it goes right in. It literally, the last shot of the first one is Patrick Wilson's hand on Rose Byrne's shoulder, and she turns around and gasps. This literally picks up right at her turning around and gasping and seeing what happened from there. Yep. Because it confused a lot of people. Because that last shot in the first movie, people assumed when she gasped because she turned around and saw the ghost. Yeah. When Lin Shaye took the
Darth Maul?
No, the old woman.
Oh, that one. Okay.
We'll get to Darth Maul.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw that out there right now. Everybody was all over the place with, is the lipstick face guy coming back? Yeah. That's like the big question everybody asks. No, he doesn't. Neither does Tiny Tim. With the Tulips.
No Tiny Tim in this one. That's crazy.
So, but nevertheless, the story literally picks up. I mean, what I found really interesting that this movie does is it actually does everything I mean, this movie isn't perfect or anything. It's not, obviously not Conjuring levels or anything, but, this movie does exactly what a sequel is supposed to do. It literally picks up where the first one left off, and it completely continues the story. It continues the story, but it's almost a completely different movie.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that.
Like in feel, you would never, if you didn't realize the story is one long story through both movies, you'd think they were two totally unrelated movies. But the tone and the feel.
If you walked into the theater at the wrong time, you probably wouldn't even think it was a paranormal movie.
Except obviously still the same characters are there. Too,
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's another thing it did right as a sequel. No actors were replaced. Everybody came back.
Yeah.
Including a lot of people thought the first one. A lot of people that like the first one actually think the second half went to shit when Specs and Tucker and Elise came in, and everybody just calls them the Ghostbusters people. Yeah, you have obviously Lin Shaye's third credited, so it's not a spoiler to say that Elise does come back in one way or another.
Of course.
So, but we do get a lot of Specs and Tucker by themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
After the fact. Like, they do this, they're meant to be the comedy relief, and in the first one I thought that was kind of tacky, but this one is, another interesting thing that this one does is, another thing is switching in tone. The first one, like, tries really hard to be this hardcore horror movie from beginning to end, and it's like it's basically striving to be the scariest movie ever made, is what it was going for.
Yep.
This one has a lot of comedy in it. Like, this one almost goes for, like, the absurdist thing, as opposed to the horror. I suppose to combat them a little bit.
Yeah.
Somebody else said it might have been James Wan throwing up two middle fingers to the horror genre on his way out. But
very nice.
Regardless, like in their first scene, it took me a second to figure out what they were doing, because I'd never heard this before. I'm assuming it's not a normal thing. They hear a noise down in like a basement or a dark hallway or something.
Of course.
And they're trying to decide who's going to go first. So they do Hunter Ninja Bear, which is their version of Rock, Paper, Scissors. And I don't know what, I couldn't tell what was what, but...
I don't know what trumps the other.
Yeah, apparently they didn't seem aware of that when they were doing it, but... I guess it's worth noting Specs is played by Lee Winnell, the writer of both, and the writer of Saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Adam in Saw, the original.
Yeah. He was also one of the, he was also in Garrett Hedlund's gang in Death Sentence.
Yes, was.
But despite the fact that this has a lot of good things about it, there's also some ridiculous things. Like in the way this movie's tone is, though, is it's hard to tell what's supposed to be ridiculous and what's supposed to be scary. So he's kind of pulling a Raimi a little bit.
Agreed.
Like, I actually laughed a lot during this once. I think it actually was supposed to be serious, but just the way it was constructed, I thought was hilarious. It's when this is no like I said in the Conjuring review, I really like Patrick Wilson, so this isn't a jab at him or anything he did wrong, but they're talking about, it's Rose Byrne talking to one of the kids. I think it's Dalton, actually. Okay. The kid from Iron Man 3. And they're talking about Patrick Wilson. They're like, is he, is something wrong with him? Is he, normal? And she's like, there's nothing wrong with your dad. And then
yeah.
Patrick Wilson's standing in the door looking really sinister, going, I'm going to take the kids to school today.
Yeah, I heard you laugh out loud on that one. That was actually funny.
And while we're talking about sinister Patrick Wilson, let's bring up the fact that, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. Not really. I wouldn't think so. Because obviously we know he's not Josh, per se.
No.
The first one kind of left that open-ended, but yeah, it's pretty clear that obviously the Josh is still in the further, and this Josh is not
correct
who he says he is. Basically, which means halfway through the movie, this movie turns into The Shining.
Yeah, big time. Instead of an axe, it becomes a fire extinguisher.
And a baseball bat.
And a baseball bat that he breaks.
Like he was, beating down the door, and he was kind of he even stands in front of the door and just is heavily breathing. I expected him to start doing the little pigs thing. So yeah, there are some effective horror scenes.
Yeah.
And it's actually an interesting story they have going. But the thing is, I know you're not going to like, and I don't know what they're going to do exactly. Because, obviously the Saw franchise went on without James Wan.
Correct.
Because he actually only did, he's always associated with it, but he only did the first one. And then Darren Lynn Bousman had it, then they started hiring, like...
Oren Peli.
Yeah, he was the Paranormal Activity guy's a producer on this.
Yep.
Which I don't recall his name being attached to the first one. I don't remember. But, this basically... I don't think this is saying too much either, because it's a horror movie. You know this is going to happen. It basically sets up to be this,
Producer.
To basically be a franchise movie.
This one even leads into another one.
So, if I had to get... My original thought was... Well, James Wan is, like, practically retiring from horror after this. Maybe they'll just stop. But, given assuming this is successful, which I'm sure it will be, or, I don't know, in your next video I said it would be successful, and it opened at number 7, so...
Yeah.
I guess we'll say, the first one kind of came off as a normal horror movie. Like, Leonel was actually very ambitious with it. I read that he actually, when he was writing it, he was trying to do something as original as possible, to the point that he wrote down every horror cliche he could possibly think of and put it on the wall, so he knew what not to do. Apparently the very top of that list was have the family move out as soon as they realize the house is haunted. But, this actually has a lot of... I'm sure there's huge fans of this movie by now that have, like... They went to a late show last night and they've been analyzing it all morning.
Guaranteed.
There's a lot of, stuff going on in different dimensions and different time places, and I hope I'm not saying too much. I don't think so. I think I'm being vague enough.
It can be very confusing at times.
To the point where you can pretty much analyze this to death.
Yeah. Which
means we've got to have more and more and more sequels to either, just like Saw, either add to things or just make things more confusing. That's what I hear. That's what I hear Lost was like too.
Do you think Leigh Whannell would take over the series himself and direct the third one and let the third one be the final chapter?
Also, I don't think
that's what I would do.
I don't think he's actually directed anything yet, but surely he's bound to.
Or maybe Oren Peli or Darren Lynn Bousman. Either way, the Saw director.
Darren Lynn Bousman's all about gore, so he wouldn't be good with this. Yeah. It's very interesting with the way they tie it into the first one, because there's actually some things in the first one. It's really hard to do this one without spoilers.
Yeah. There
are some things in the first one that you have no idea what happened, and you actually find out what they were in this one.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's interesting.
I like the set. I like the way they did that, too.
So, there's, obviously there's a new ghost or two.
Yeah.
That woman in the white dress we keep seeing in the trailers. Mm-hmm. She's kind of wild.
Kind of.
Yeah, it'd be a spoiler to say anything about her, so...
Yeah. I'm not gonna talk about her at all.
But yeah, all these things tie together. Yeah, I'm still trying to put together some things. It's like, it's kind of like, I struggle to say this, but it kind of reminded me of Donnie Darko.
I could see that.
The way you have these, the way it's constructed, and when you think you've pretty simply figured it out, it's like got a whole other thing going on that you have to really, really investigate the story to figure out what it even is. But, which I didn't expect going into this movie.
No.
Because it does... I think he, talking about that list of horror cliches he was trying to avoid, there has to be some,
that he glossed over? Yeah.
Because there are, these movies love their jump scares, which I know you just love. I saw you, like, get pissed off every time one happened.
I hate jump scares. I really do. They're a crutch so badly. Then again, you have good movies that actually know what they're doing with jump scares, and
like The Conjuring.
Like The Conjuring, exactly.
It made me wonder, since The Conjuring was made I'm pretty sure it was made in between these movies. You can't really tell because they were made so close together. But
yeah.
It made me wonder if he had, maybe working on this one, he had learned from his experience with The Conjuring, or if it was basically...
Well,
but that gets back to what I was saying about how this one and the first one are surprisingly completely different.
Oh yeah, I know this one was released after the fact. Obviously, The Conjuring was released first, but is there possible that The Conjuring was finished after?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Even though it wasn't released after, I mean, was it finished after?
Well, the really shocking thing is that neither one of these were released on Halloween. Nothing comes out the weekend of Halloween.
No, there's no horror movies on the calendar this year.
Carrie comes out October 18th.
Yes.
And that's it for horror movies the rest of the year.
Unless you have some indie stuff that we don't know about yet.
Ty West has a new found footage movie, but it'll probably be next year. It's at TIFF right now. Sacrament, I think it's called.
I think I've heard about that, actually.
Yeah. And yeah, this movie actually, it's not very long. It's maybe like 30 seconds, but still, there were a couple of handheld camera scenes in this movie where it was like, James Wan, I really think you're above the video camera found footage thing. Obviously, it's not found footage within a movie because it's not lost.
Yeah.
But
I need to figure out a new terminology for that, actually.
So, yeah, this movie is more fun than it looks.
I agree.
It's definitely a lot more fun than the first one, because the first one was just trying to be hardcore, but...
I was zonking out, like, the beginning of the movie, but then when I got...
Yeah, I saw that. That was like a half hour, and then you were...
But when I was up for it, it was kind of like, I was in. I was actually in for the rest of it, and you know what? It actually surprised me, like, greatly.
And just the way, like I was saying with Specs and Tugger, how they're like the weird comedy relief in the first one, and they feel out of place. And like I said, a lot of people thought they brought it down, but this one is so like over the top and weird and absurd that they actually belong.
When they brought back the dooming score too.
Yeah, that's the
like some odes to Psycho too, and some of the keystrokes and
the title. The title comes up exactly the same way it did in the first one. Like even in at the beginning, it does it exactly like it did in the first one, and then it just has Chapter 2 later.
In smoke.
Yeah, at the end, it actually just like if you were to not see the beginning, and the movie ended, you would think it was also called Insidious with no other part of the title. So that's, I mean, I guess it's. I don't know why this is worth noting, but I'll throw it out there anyway. I figured the title... I was kind of surprised that the title was the same when it came up, because the titles, the credits at the beginning of the first one were like red or orange or something. And in this one, they're the exact same credits, but they're blue.
Yeah.
So...
The further is the blue, maybe.
Yeah, this movie has a lot of the further in it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it would have to, you know, so...
Insidious, when it first came out, I mean, everyone just jumped on it, and everybody thought it was amazing, and to me, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of you guys out there that I'm going to be meeting next week at Halloween Horror Nights, but I kind of compare it a lot to the fandom for Drag Me to Hell. Another movie I really didn't like either.
Here's what I think the thing with Insidious is, the first one.
Okay.
When there is a halfway decent horror movie that comes out, horror fans love to treat it like it's the best thing ever.
Yes.
Because so many horror movies suck.
Exactly.
So when one comes out that's alright, it looks amazing in comparison.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you giving Insidious so many pats on the back for? It's only doing what horror movies are, you know, supposed to be in their general layout. It's just most horror movies are so fucking bad you can't tell anymore.
Exactly.
But then there's movies like The Conjuring, where not only do they stick to what you should do while making a horror movie, they do it in a really, really effective fashion. Whereas the first Insidious just kind of does what a horror movie is supposed to do, but on the surface.
It's kind of like when you come up with like a horror movie, kind of like You're Next. I mean, a lot of people liked it when it was unknown and everything, and it seems like when it got released, everybody kind of turned on it.
And nice. One of the great things about The Conjuring was the musical cues.
Oh God, yes. I love this. I love the score.
But in these movies, of course, the musical cues come exactly when you expect them to. It's when the thing jumps out, so it's really loud when it happens.
The Rob Zombification of movies, which we'll talk about that in a couple weeks.
All right, I think that's all I have to say about Insidious.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm surprised once I got into it. I kind of liked the twist they went into. I'm not going to go into it, obviously, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And just the stuff with Patrick Wilson. I think he showed his range as a Jack Torrance in this movie, without question.
Oh yeah, I'll also bring up the fact that I'm not positive. I actually said something similar in the Riddick review, but I'm being serious this time.
Oh boy.
The girl that played the young Elise had Lin Shaye's voice. Do you think she was dubbed, or do you think she's just that great at an impressionist? Like maybe her voice sounded nothing like Lin Shaye, so they had Lin Shaye dub over her or something.
It's possible.
If that's not what they did, she's a dead-on impressionist.
Obviously, the movie's way too new for that information to be anywhere online yet, so we won't know that for another couple of weeks. Well, actually, probably like by the end of the weekend, with the way that the horror fans are nowadays.
Alright.
We're going to go to a completely different level for the second review.
Yeah. Our next movie is The Family, which was called Mala Vita the first time around, before they changed it. Which is really weird, because I didn't know what that meant until I saw the movie. It's the dog's name. Mm-hmm. It does make me wonder why, in God's name, the title of the movie originally was The Dog's Name. Because the dog is very insignificant, really.
Yeah?
But it's based on a novel, I think, so maybe it had something to do with that. That's why they changed the title, I guess. Even though they went with something extremely and totally generic that would not tell you the feel of this movie at all. I will say, I was concerned for this movie because of the director. Most people love this guy, yes. Luc. I don't know where the emphasis on his last name goes.
Is it Besson or Besson or... It could go either way. It's one of those.
It's one of those. The problem is that I like Leon just as much as the next person.
Yeah.
But his movies after that, like people are obsessed with The Fifth Element. I never liked The Fifth Element. I do not know what the big deal with it is. I really don't. But and you know, he's
I did not know that. We will discuss this in a minute.
It was weird that he branched out and did that movie The Lady, which I think was like a biopic, which is weird for him. And he did the Joan of Arc movie with Mila Jovovich, I think. So now he's done this comedy with De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Tommy Lee Jones. And that one girl. Diana.
Hargron.
Yeah. And
Agron. Wow, reversed. More wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Alright, so, I wasn't sure where they were starting when this movie started. Obviously, we know by the trailer that they're... I didn't know... Okay, here's the thing that was interesting to me. I don't know about you, and I don't remember the trailer ever specifying this. So here's the thing.
Okay.
When I saw the trailer and I heard the plot, I literally did not learn otherwise until I watched the movie last night. I thought this movie was something different until I saw it last night.
Yeah.
I was under the impression they are a real family.
Correct.
They are a father, mother, son, and daughter. When I saw the trailer, I was under the impression that all four of them didn't know each other and were in witness protection for different reasons, and were put in witness protection together, posing as a family.
Kind of like what We're the Millers 2 would have been like.
Maybe I still have War Mills on the brain. That's why I thought that. But yeah, I did not realize till the movie came on last night that they are a family for real.
Yeah.
Which confused the shit out of me for a while until I figured it out. Because you kind of get a sense, you expect it to begin, and maybe this is a credit to them, maybe this is not a credit to them, I don't know, but you expect it to begin with whatever happens to send them into witness protection. But the movie actually starts with them on their way to, like, their new safe house where they're going to be living. Yes. And everything that put them in witness protection has already happened.
Correct.
Which I worried about, because my first thought was, oh shit, my least favorite thing in the world. Story by way of flashbacks. It's bound to happen. They actually cleverly covered that up, but I'll get to that in a second. I'll say that I wasn't a fan. I mean, the movie is fine. Mm. I like it. Sure.
Overall.
For the first half hour, though, I didn't have hope. And I'll tell you why. For starters, the dialogue.
Yeah.
Everybody speaks really fast, like they're trying to be, hip and clever and snappy. And it comes off I mean, you're supposed to be hip and clever and snappy, but it really, really showed that they were really trying for it.
We're throwing out the Diablo Cody thing that everyone seems to like to talk about nowadays. Can talk about that?
Kind of like that. And the kids, like, well, they have a weird, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a sister, let alone a sister that I cared a lot about. But, did the brother and sister not seem bizarrely close?
Yeah, they kind of...
That was kind of...
Well, I
won't say weird, because I'm sure brothers and sisters are that close.
No, I know brother and sister are that close. Yeah, it's possible.
I don't know why it was bizarre to me. It just seemed like they were... I don't know.
Well, if you were playing on the fact that they were not a real family and they were just put together with witness protection, could you imagine that they were, like, forced to be brother and sister and they knew each other otherwise? And
well, before I realized that they were a real family, my first thought was, a love story.
There's a little bit of sexual tension in the movie, that's for sure.
But, of course, once I put together... It didn't take long to put together, of course, that they are a real family.
They come off more like Wednesday and Pugsley, though. Let's be totally honest.
It thinks it's really crackling, is what it is. But it's just... I just wasn't buying it. But that's not to say, it didn't... I don't know. Well, going into that also, the trying so hard to be clever thing, the subtitles showed that too.
Yeah.
That's the cool and hip thing to do now, is to be cool with your subtitles. I don't know. The first half hour was just... I just wasn't into it at all, but...
Just kind of there.
It started to get better and funnier, and once everything started to come into place, because I actually, I wasn't sure where this movie was going to go exactly, like what kind of positions it would go in, situations it would go in.
We don't know what kind of De Niro we're going to get either.
Yeah. And the kid, I brought up both kids, but the son, I don't even know who that kid is.
John DeLeo.
Alright.
He was in The Wrestler, actually.
He might be the kid that he plays Nintendo with.
That would be correct.
Where Randy the Ram can't say Call of Duty.
Yeah. I love that movie.
I found him especially annoying. Like, that's kind of bad, because I think we're supposed to, think he's the, I don't know, the likable smart-ass character.
He came off like he would be, if he wouldn't have made it big, he came off like he would have been played by Anton Yelchin.
The first day of school, he gets the shit beat out of him. Yeah. And I think we're supposed to go, oh, that sets up for those bullies to really get their comeuppance. But to be honest, I actually took a little bit of joy in seeing him get the shit beat out of him. So that kind of had me thinking in the wrong direction, too. So, but anyway, to get to how the plot unravels, they do an interesting thing with, I said I was really worried how they were going to tell us why they were in witness protection. For starters, he has there's the scene in the trailer, the Last Action Hero scene, where he's like at the cookout and everybody pulls a gun on him. Of course, that's just a dream.
Yep.
But that basically tells us that his family is who is after him, basically.
Correct.
And then there's this really clever thing where De Niro's character is writing his memoirs, which obviously is a really stupid thing to do in witness protection.
Very much so.
And there's that really funny moment with him and the neighbor where he says, I'm a writer, and he says, are you a novelist? And he says, no, I write, war books. And he just goes into this half-ass thing, and the neighbor just can tell he's lying out of his ass. So he just kind of walks away from the conversation and goes, why the fuck didn't I just say I was a novelist? I know, while he was doing his memoirs, he says, I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I'm a good guy. And he even says, I'm going to do it like Letterman's top 10.
He did, too. It was awesome.
And through that top 10, we basically learn about his character and the things he's done in his past. And basically why people want to kill him.
Exactly.
People were not taking too kindly to this movie that we were in there with.
No,
there was a weird crowd in there, like... 3 dudes, I guess, thought they were getting an action movie, and they got pissed off. They were like muscle heads. They got like the sleeveless shirts and the roid arms and the square heads. And
dude, if we run, we can still make Insidious.
And there were some older people outside after it was over that said that wasn't what they were expecting. They were expecting more of a comedy, which was weird because I actually thought there was there's comedy throughout it.
There's really good comedy.
Like if they were expecting a comedy, I don't know what they didn't think they got.
Maybe it's more dry than they were anticipating.
It might also have to do with the fact that this movie is not incredibly violent, but it's got some brutality.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's got some brutal scenes, but there's not a lot of blood in it.
No.
It's mostly just beatings, I guess. Bloodless beatings. I suppose you could argue the ending is pretty violent, sure, but
yeah.
Apart from that, you should know the movie is a comedy when everybody in the 4 family members all have their own plots going on.
Correct. Like
the kids got the like trying to contact the outside world.
Yep.
The girl's got the love story with her teacher or whatever he was.
Yep.
Pfeiffer's got going to the church and confessing and scaring the shit out of the priest.
And of course the scene you see in the trailer, she blows up the supermarket.
De Niro's subplot is he's doing his damnedest to make sure the water's not brown. That's like a whole plot by itself.
But the funny thing is he's the only one. Well, it's funny because he wants everybody to move on with their lives, and he's the one that's still doing stuff. But he's also the one that's not getting caught.
No, the hilarious running joke is that what's interesting is everybody in the family is hurting somebody in one way or another.
Correct.
Michelle Pfeiffer blew up the store, and the girl beats the guy almost to death with the tennis racket.
That was hilarious.
The other kid with the bullies. Every time De Niro beats the shit out of somebody, it ends up being a fantasy. I particularly like the cookout where he burns the guy's face on the grill. Later on, he hears that guy over the phone, and he's trying to remember who he is, and he remembers his fantasy of burning the guy to remember who he is.
Hey, they were bashing his charcoal, okay? You don't discount a man's barbecuing capabilities.
So, there are a few De Niro's actually not bad. Apparently he was like bashing it or something. I only heard like this. I didn't read or see anything. I heard somebody talking about reading something that he said about bashing it. Like he was above it or something, which is really funny when you look at some of his other stuff. Because this is actually, he's actually fairly good in this.
Yeah.
Like he's funny and gets to do the mob thing. And Michelle Pfeiffer is her normal, sexy self.
Some of those scenes with De Niro, though, I mean, when he's coming out in his bathrobe, it just looks like an outtake from Being Flynn. It really does, like exact same bathrobe and everything. The only thing I'm missing is Paul Dano walking around the corner.
He's much more calm in this movie, though.
Yeah, no lie.
I was disappointed that Jones is kind of wasted. Like he has a not wasted like Mafia wasted, but he has a couple of funny lines. But other than that, he's just kind of there to be the.
Why are you here? Why are you not doing anything you're supposed to do? He always knows when something's up because he shows up at the door every single next day. He's like, "Hey, weren't you out there?" He's like, "Don't lie to me."
I noticed there were 2 moments to where movie fans could kind of giggle to themselves. I don't know if these were written before De Niro was cast or after, or if it was written with De Niro in mind. Number one, there was kind of this may have not been on purpose, of course, because it could be at any time.
It's obscure.
Not obscure necessarily, but it could be. It's believable it was a coincidence.
Okay, right on.
There's kind of an interesting moment to movie fans where De Niro quotes Al Capone.
Yeah.
Now, this, I don't know. This scene was so... I mean, it's a funny concept, of course, but to be honest, the one thing I felt during this scene was how bizarre it was. Like, I was just sitting there watching this going, wow, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
For some reason, the ending towards the climax is De Niro gets called by the guy that he fantasized about burning. And he says, why don't you come in and do like a film debate kind of thing where we're going to watch Some Came Running.
Okay.
And then we're going to debate it. And De Niro wants to fit in, so he's like, sure, I'll do it. You know, much to Jones's dismay.
Of course.
So they get there, and apparently there's some kind of technical difficulty with Some Came Running. So instead, they watch Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And you get to watch De Niro as this character watch Goodfellas. And it's really weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Obviously, the original joke of the movie is that, of course, it's a mob movie, and he's, trying to convince everybody he's not in the mob. But, I don't know, it just happened to be a De Niro movie, so I don't know.
He didn't put his character over there, so, I mean, it's not as bad as it could have been.
I think it's worth noting that LCD Sound System is featured in this movie.
Yes.
Their New York song plays during a sex scene of all things.
Yeah.
It makes no sense there. But, regardless, this is better than most of the director's other movies.
Yeah.
Like, the only other movie of his I like is Leon, so me liking this movie basically means it's better than most of his movies.
You want to talk about music, though, I was like geeked out big time when I was sitting in the theater and I heard it play, because you don't hear the song very often. When all the gangsters just show up, and I'm not going to say anything more than that, when they just show up, the music they use for the soundtrack is Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz. And it's just awesome to see them walking, know they're about to just try to ruin De Niro's day just by walking out to this really awesome song. It's got a great beat to it. The lyrics fit. It's just perfect. And I love the way that they put it into the scene.
And lastly, I'll say, and normally I don't give movies shit for this. I'm not necessarily giving it shit, I just thought it was a little weird. It was a little off. This movie, normally I, talk about movies shouldn't drag on and on and on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This movie just stops really abruptly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Like, you can sense we're coming onto the big ending. The big ending happens, and the movie just ends there.
Yeah.
And it felt really sudden. But, and it felt kind of rushed and half-assed too a little bit.
Just a bit.
But I won't say anything else about that, so. That's that. Both of these movies are fine.
Yeah.
I'd say they're on the same level of, sure, why not?
If you have nothing else to do, might as well. But then again, there's theaters still have like Elysium playing, and if you haven't seen The Butler yet, or
Conjuring's still out 2 months
if
later.
you are able to see The Conjuring, then you just go ahead. Just watch it before too long, because they'll probably be gone soon.
Yeah, so that's pretty much that.
So, next week is actually going to be a special deal. This is because I'm going to be leaving, obviously, on Thursdays. Everyone out there knows by now. We are filming a review of movies we're going to be watching tomorrow, and that actually will go up next Friday. So, you will actually get AJ content on next Friday. We're going to be reviewing The Spectacular Now, Austin Land, and Ain't Them Body Saints. And if you remember back to the video that we talked about our most anticipated for the rest of the year, both Spectacular Now and Ain't Them Body Saints are on our list. So, respectively. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So. And Brett McKenzie's awesome, so it's going to be great to see him in Austin Land. So, yeah. Any parting words for everyone, AJ?
Nope.
All right.
That's